episode of Style by God, Style for a Purpose. And on this episode, I am actually switching seats. And I'm being interviewed tonight by my BFF, Talai. And she's going to be interviewing me. This episode is a special dedication in memory of my mother, Barbara C. So it's going to be emotional and everything, but I'm going to share my story about my experience of going through the loss of my mom and my father as well, because they both passed away around the same time. So I'm just gonna go ahead and share.
So welcome everyone. I'm Talai, aka Patricia Anderson, and welcome to another Style by God, Style for a Purpose. It's my honor and privilege to be sitting in the interviewer chair to interview yours truly, Rara, on this momentous occasion. We wanted to celebrate mothers everywhere because it is Mother's Day weekend. Tomorrow's Mother's Day. And we're also aware, and shout out to my mom. Hey mom, happy Mother's Day. We'll celebrate tomorrow. And we wanted to recognize, especially because Rara shared or had this extraordinary experience, that there are others out there that have shared experience, loss, or grief, either you or someone you know. And if it hasn't happened at some point in your life, it's going to touch you. And you know, this format for Style by God, Style for a Purpose, is where Rara invites people to share their purpose. And it's a great platform, and you don't see that often, where someone is inviting you to just talk to the world about what God has called you to do. And I know that Style by God, Style for a Purpose is based on the Psalm that says, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. So it's not just about fashion, it's about styling. When you style something, you take time, you think about it, and then you put it together. And we all have experiences in life, and we have to remember that our experiences are helping also to style us by God and style us for a purpose. Sometimes it's not something that's pleasant. I know my mother, she's the flower queen. Mm-hmm. And she's always cutting back the things, and I'm always yelling, don't cut them, because I want them to. And she says, what do you say, Mom? If you don't cut them, they won't grow. But once you cut them, they grow more and stronger. And you know, I've been with you through your experience, and we'll talk about that, because you have emerged, and there was a metamorphosis that happened after your experience that is pretty incredible. So with all that said, Rara, how you doing today? How you feel?
I'm emotional. I'm feeling emotional.
Are you?
Yeah. It's been a lot. It's been a journey, and I got hit a lot these last couple of weeks and stuff. So yeah.
You knew this was coming.
Yeah, and I knew this was coming. So you know, it's just
yeah. And I think what people appreciate about whenever someone has a platform to speak to them, they want authenticity. Mm-hmm. They don't want a formula, 10 steps, or not even this is how I did it. It's bringing your experience so they can, you know, empathize or sympathize and say, oh, I went through that. So somebody went through something I went through. So you're acknowledging those that have gone through it, so they don't feel alone. Because did you feel at any time that nobody understood what you were going through and you had to feel it yourself?
I did, because I felt like, I've always heard it said that you don't know what it's like until you've actually gone through it yourself.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you're around certain people that haven't been through it, they can't really relate to it, and they don't know what to say or what to do or whatever. And it's not about trying to find something to say or trying to find something to do. It's just be there, you know. Yeah, just be there. Because when it all first happened, it was like, you know, people were calling and you know, sharing their sympathies and whatever, and they was like, I just don't know what to say. And I said, you don't have to say anything. I said, because there are no words for this right now.
Yeah.
There just aren't any words. There were no words for it.
So that's key, what you just said, Rara, because there are a lot of people out there, including myself, I remember when I was in high school, remember Lauren, my best friend in high school, she lost her dad, and that's the first time that I knew somebody lost somebody close to them, and I literally did not speak to her for a long time because I didn't know what to say, because nobody told me, like you're saying, just say, I don't know what to say, but I'm here if you need me. And my mother, she said the same thing, just say, I'm here if you need me, because as you said, there are no words. So that's good that you're telling someone out there that just say, I'm here for you. Whatever you need, I'm here.
Right. And I remember when you called that same night, and you were just there, and you told me, like, I don't know what to say, but I'm here.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's enough.
Yeah. Was that the time when I was sharing the when the highway fell apart and I was sharing these
Yes. That was funny. You were sending me those memes when the highway 85, Interstate 85 went down all around that time, and I'm like, Lord, what is going on?
I was trying everything. So
yeah, you were trying.
So your mom, Barbara C. I want you to take us on a journey, because you were here in Atlanta. Your mom called you and she said, I want to see you and you got to come. Because when you spoke to me, even though I wasn't privy to the conversation, you were like, I got to go. Stan understood. He was like, yeah, you got to go. And it was like, and she didn't give you a return date. So take us through that call and then what happened next.
Well, actually, what first happened was I received a text from her. And I was actually on my way to your house that morning when the text came through to my phone, because we were going out to shoot more footage for Time 11I.
That's right, it was.
And when I got to your house, I was like, Talai, my mom just texted me and said she's in the hospital with pneumonia. So so I immediately called once I got there. I believe this, I immediately called her once I got there, and I was like, okay, what's going on? She's like, well, I'll be here for a couple of days. I'm like, okay, what do you need me to do? Do I need to come up there? And she's like, yeah, I would like for you to come.
Yeah.
So, so it was just a matter of, we went on and did what we had to do that day. And was that the same day?
When you left?
No, that we had our situation. I'm trying to,
no,
that was with, I think that was something different. Okay. That was, I think
it's after you came back. I don't know.
Yeah, it was before.
It was? Okay.
Yeah, it was before
it was.
that. Yeah,
okay.
Okay. But anyway, so we went on through with that day, and then immediately that evening I got home and I just started preparing to go. And I left a couple of days after she had texted me, because she said they were going to be releasing her in a couple of days. I think they ended up keeping her a little longer. So so I said, well, once you're released, then I'll be on up there. So she let me know when she was going to be released. So once she was released, I went on up there, and I asked her, I said, okay, so how long do you think you'll need me to stay?
Yeah.
Because it had happened to her. I had gone home to her back in October of 2017.
I remember.
Yeah, I had to fly up there because she had gone into the hospital then. But, it was just, she was fine. I mean, she went through her situation, but she came out fine. And, I was able to, put a date on when I was returning.
Yeah.
But this time she was like, I don't know how long I'm going to need you to stay. So I just got a one-way ticket.
I remember that.
Yeah.
You said something that that was really good. You said when you called her after she texted you, you said, what do you need me to do? That's also a good thing if someone is experiencing loss, to say, because they may not be able to, they're not thinking about you anyway, like, let me think about you and what they're thinking, they're inside their experience. So a good thing to say is, what do you need me to do? I remember Audrey did it to me when I was and it was like, oh my God. And I gave her like 10 things to do. And she did it. So that's good. That's good instruction. What do you need me to do? So you get up there with your mom and she says to you, I don't know when
Right.
So you got your one-way ticket. You don't know when you're coming back. What happens next after that?
So after that, I get up there and she's home, and I see all this equipment. She's got the oxygen machine, and things were much more dramatic this time.
Yeah.
The situation had really went up a notch, and so when I got there, there were the machines, and basically she was just pretty much couldn't do a lot for herself. Her breathing had she had trouble breathing. That had increased quite a bit, and so just the slightest movement, like just walking from her bedroom to her bathroom, was taxing on her.
Wow.
Took a lot of energy out of her. So it was hard to watch because,
I can imagine.
my mother was very independent, and just to see her just not be able to do just the simplest things for herself was a lot to watch.
Yeah.
And then I'm seeing all these, and now hospice is involved. So I'm like, okay,
Wow.
what does this mean? So the hospice people are telling me, well, just because we're putting your mother on hospice care does not mean that this is a terminal situation. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, but yeah, I'm like, okay, but still something inside me was like, something's not right.
Something's not right.
Yeah.
And you, Rara, if anybody that knows Rara, because you're telling me, I'm talking to you like daily, sometimes several times a day. You're calm. You're not freaking out and saying, "My mom is on an oxygen machine." Oh, they're talking. You're just like this the whole time, and we're gonna get into that more later.
Yeah.
Because you didn't freak out. I wasn't freaking out. But obviously, like you said, you felt something wasn't right. So go ahead.
Right. So it had to start becoming her nurse.
Yeah.
I had to schedule when she was going to take her medication, so I had to set my phone to give her meds, and so that became a part of my schedule, part of my duties. Just doing errands, running to the store. So basically I was just running the household, and then her friend Larry, who lived upstairs, he was there as well. That was another dynamic to the situation, because Larry, bless his heart, but he's one of those type of people that situations like this really rock him, and he's kind of like somewhat in denial of what's going on, but he was trying to encourage her, like, Barbara, you got to get up and move more, and stuff like this. But I'm looking at him like, she can only do but so much. It's just what you're saying to her is something she just can't do right now. But he's
He was in denial. I think he was. Yeah.
He wasn't accepting what was really happening, because
So she you get there and you assess the situation. It's more critical than you thought, because I'm sure she didn't tell you any of that when you were on the phone with us. She just said, "Come up here," and you did. Then you dealt with your dad's situation as well.
Right.
So let's talk about that, and I'll get back to your mom.
Right. So I arrived up there on March 17th. My dad's birthday is on March 23rd. So I said, okay, well, I'll just wait until my dad's birthday, to go and see him. Let me get situated with, getting familiar with taking care of mom and, everything I have to do for her. And then by the 23rd, I can, make some room to go see him. So that's what I did. So, so I was like, my mom, she was able to stay by herself, but not for, I didn't want her, leave her too long.
Right. Sure.
So I said, okay, Mom. I said, well, today's Mac's birthday. We call my dad Mac. And so I'm going to go see him for just a few minutes, and I'm going to come right back. So I went to visit my dad on his birthday. And when I walked into the room, my stepsister, Jermaine, was there. She was just she was just amazing with him. You know, she was there to sit with him and, you know, just be with him all the way through. And he stayed in a nursing home, and he suffered from dementia. So she was in there sitting with him, and when I walked in, she looked up and saw me. She just rushed to me and she broke down. And I was like, wow. I was like, okay. And so, you know, and I held her, and it was really a moment. And then I looked at my dad, and normally when I would come to visit him, his face would light up as soon as I walked in the room. But this time he just looked at me. So I knew that, you know, he was declining.
Yeah.
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 So so I, you know, came in and sat down with him, and, you know, said happy birthday, and, you know, tried to, you know, have somewhat of a conversation with him. And Jermaine, she went on and she said, well, I'm going to go ahead and leave and let you two be alone. So I sat with him, and I just really just sat with him, and, you know, would smile. And I'm trying to remember if I asked him. Sometimes I would ask him, you know, when I would go to visit him, you know, do you know who I am? And he'd be like, yeah, Rhonda, you know, so. But this time there was just not much interaction coming from him.
Okay.
So I just sat there with him. So, you know, after a while, when I knew, I was like, okay, I need to go ahead and get back to Mom. So when I prepared to leave, I said, okay. I said, Mac, I'm going to leave now. I said, but I'll be back to see you in a couple of days, you know, to see you again. So when I said that, he dropped his head. And normally when I would go visit him in nursing home, I would see him drop his head because of the meds, you know, make you so drowsy or whatever.
Yeah.
But this time when he did it, it was different. And hindsight, when I look back on, I know why. But at first it was just like, it was intentional.
Yeah.
This time.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. The way he dropped his head. So, you know, I kind of knew something was different about the way he did it, but I just, you know, kind of dismissed it because there was just so much going on, you know, thinking about my mom and all this kind of stuff. So it's just a lot going through my head at the time.
So you go to see your dad, and like you said, he dropped his head. So what happens next? Is what's the next thing that happens with your dad or your mom? That
right. So I, you know, get back home to my mom, and it's just the normal, you know, routine, taking care of her, and you know, helping her get dressed, helping her get bathed, and so forth. So a couple of days after my visit with my dad, a couple of days or so after my visit with my dad, I got a text from my stepsister, Jermaine, and she was saying they had to take Mac to the emergency room, take him to the hospital. It all turned out to be that he was had a urinary tract infection and was dehydrated. So they said that, you know, well, we're just, you know, patch that up and send him back to the nursing home in about a couple of days or so. And so a couple of days later, the doctors, we went to visit my dad. Yeah, that's what it was. We went to visit my dad. So the doctor was saying that they were going to need to keep him a little longer because my stepsister said that he was not swallowing. His brain was not telling him to swallow, so he wasn't swallowing his food or whatever. So eventually, I guess about 3 days, I can't remember clearly right now, but about 3 or 4 days after his stay there, the doctors gave us the news that, well, your father is in the last stages of dementia, so he doesn't have much time left.
Oh, wow.
So we're thinking maybe like a couple of months, something like that. So it was the next day. The doctor explained to us, he said, okay, we're going to have a hospice come in to visit tomorrow because you're going to have we can't send him back to the nursing home because that would just be too much on him. So we're going to keep him here at the hospital and have hospice come to visit him, and we'll have them come tomorrow. So I was at the hospital that day when they told us that with my dad. So I went back home to my mom. So the next day, my stepsister called me from the hospital room when the hospice people arrived. And so, they started to explain, what type of care they were going to give him and so forth. And then the next thing that came out of the doctor's mouth is like, well, it looks like your father only has like 2 days.
Wow.
And I was like, and I heard my stepsister on the other end of the phone, and she just broke down. And I said, Jermaine, I said, what did he just say 2 days? And she said, yes, he just said 2 days. And I just lost it. So, it was just a lot. Everything was so surreal. What was happening? It was all happening so fast.
I can imagine.
So the only thing I could think was, okay, because then it was like, okay, I'm here trying to take care of my mom, and now I'm told that my father only has 2 days. So I'm like, I'm wanting to be by his side,
right?
When he transitions, and then still I had my mom to think about. But eventually that was all able to work out where I was able to, explain to my mom the situation about my dad. Now mom and dad had been divorced for years,
right?
So they weren't even together. So, so when I told my mom, what the doctor said about my dad, she was like, okay, well, that's fine. And, so, she was okay. And I would check on her from the hospital while I was sitting with my dad and, check on her, make sure she was okay. And she was like, yeah, I'm fine, But then she would be like, when you coming home? So
right.
She had, and my brother and I used to joke about it because it was kind of like she had this little jealousy thing with my dad when it came to my brother and I. Whenever we say, okay, we're gonna go, visit and spend a little time with him. So it was just
when are you coming back?
Yeah, right. Yeah, but when you coming back to see me or whatever. So, but anyway, so that's pretty much how that went. So I stayed by my dad's side. Me and my other siblings. I had to call my 2 siblings that live here in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And let them know the situation. So they made their arrangements to get up here. And so my dad passed away on April 5th.
Okay.
Yeah, he passed away on April 5th.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So I know with your dad's situation, he's been ill for some time.
Right.
And as opposed to your mom's situation where last time you saw her, she was fine.
Right.
Last time I saw her, she was fine.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're there, and your dad passes.
Right.
So
Right.
you're at the funeral or the homegoing.
Mm-hmm.
So take us from there, because did you feel, and when I talk to the audience too, because somebody there needs to hear this. This is pretty astonishing. How are you feeling? Because first of all, you get there and your mom is different than what you thought.
Right.
And then your dad is different from what you thought.
Right.
And then you get a blow to the head.
Right.
What are you thinking? How are you processing this? Your dad passes, and I remember because all the siblings and the schedule and so forth, and you're at the homegoing. So what happens? Tell us about that and take us from there.
Yes. So preparing for my dad's homegoing was a lot as well. So I was in charge of preparing the obituary for my father and putting the the obituary in the paper, and then for the homegoing as well. So during that time, I actually in preparing it, I sat with my mom, and my mom actually helped me write the obituary.
Wow.
Yeah. She because there was still a lot I didn't know. I learned some things while we were by his bedside when his friends, because my father was a musician. He was a legend in our town.
Yeah.
He was a musical legend in our town. DJ, musician, so a creative, stylish. That's what. So
Style.
yeah, style by God.
Yeah.
Very stylish, very into fashion, and so I knew some of those things, but there were things that the musicians shared when they came, which I didn't know. One thing I learned
Oh wow, yeah.
while in the hospital room, sitting by my dad's bedside, one of his band members said that he was like, "Yeah, your dad used to pick out the uniforms for the band," and I was like, "Oh, really? Pick out the outfits?" Yeah, pick out the outfits that we wear.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, right. So I never knew that. I'm like, wow, I did not know that. That was my first time ever hearing that.
I remember
So,
you. Yeah.
yeah. So back to that. So I had to prepare the obituary. So I sat with my mom and my brother, and my mom, she helped me to write up the obituary for him.
And you learned some things about your dad that
Right.
was it's interesting because when it comes to an individual, different people know them differently.
Mm-hmm.
And you knew him
Right.
one way as dad.
Right.
Your mom knew him another way
Right.
as wife, and then his bandmates are sharing and other people. So it gives you like
Right.
a good 360 of the person.
Exactly.
And it just goes back to the style by God, style for a purpose. Because God knows how to style us to be purposeful to each of our relationships that we have.
Yes.
So your relationship with me is different than what you have with someone else.
Right.
But it's still style for a purpose.
That's good. That's
So
right.
the homegoing. All right.
So by the time, we get to the day of my dad's homegoing, things with my mom, she was having more challenges breathing. It had started getting worse. So, I was like, okay, I got to go to the homegoing and make sure that she's okay. So I asked her, I said, "Are you going to be okay?" She said, "Yeah." She said, I said, you got your meds by you?" So she had her meds by her, and I talked to Larry, make sure that he was there with her, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm not going anywhere. I'll be right here," and so forth. So so she was fine. She was fine when I left that morning to go to the homegoing. But I remember now, actually it was the night before the homegoing, and she asked for they had provided some meds, and then also morphine, just in case. But they were saying, the morphine doesn't mean so.
Morphine.
Yeah. And she asked for the morphine, and I'm like, why? She was saying, well, just to help me with the breathing, just to help me a little more. I'm like, okay. So, I, gave her some of the morphine, and the hospice nurse had explained to me, just do a very, very small dose and do it with another one of her meds along with that. So that's what I did. And then after I did that, I made sure she was in bed and resting and everything. And then I went into my room, because by this time I was just really drained by everything that was going on.
Yeah.
And so I called my brother, Brian, and I said, yeah, I said, Mom asked for the morphine tonight. I said, but I said, I really didn't want to do that. And because there was something, she had a reaction to it. Like she was saying things that were just really off.
So is it hallucinant?
Yeah.
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 Mom's a nurse back there. She's giving us the lowdown on the different medication.
Yeah.
So she was
And
hallucinating.
she said something really, and it really disturbed me. So I called my brother and explained to him what had happened, what she had said, and he was like, "Well, yeah." I said, "I'm not giving her any more of that." And he was like, "No, don't give it to her if it's doing that." So anyway, next day I got up and everything was fine. You know, I went and checked on her and make sure she was up and ready, and that she, you know, she had her meds by her, and she, you know, machine, the oxygen and all that, and she was fine. So I went to the homegoing, but I was still a little shaken. And the homegoing went well, you know, me and all my siblings and everything, and you know, just got through that day. But again, everything was just, it was a long day. And so I checked on my mom actually after the homegoing at the church, and we were on our way to the cemetery. I called my mom and checked on her to make sure she was okay. Yeah. So she was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." She answered the phone. She was talking, you know, everything was fine. So I was like, okay. I was like, I can, you know, relax. As long as I could hear that in her voice, yeah, I just felt like.
Okay, I gotta stop you. I have a question. What in the world is happening? You're grieving your dad, but it's kind of like you don't have time to fully grieve because you're got to take care of your mom.
Right.
So where's your headspace? Like you said, it was surreal, but I'm sure somebody else has, you know, it's like when life just piles one thing on top of you and then pile another. Talk to the people. What is happening in your head? How are you processing all this stuff? Or are you processing it?
Well, I guess, seeing my father, it was like, part of me was like, is all this really happening? I think that was just
Surreal.
real. Yeah, it's just where is this really happening? That's really where I was.
All right.
You know, that I mean, that's really the only way I can explain it. Is this really happening? Because it's just.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear about stuff, but when you're actually going through it, it's just, and it's happening so fast.
Yeah.
You don't really have time to process it because it's.
Right. Yeah.
It's happening so fast, so you just like, is this real? Is this?
And I think too, Rara, it's back to style by God. You know, when you think about, you know, the way your brain is, and you know, you talk about Big Bang and fish crawling out the sea and all this crazy nonsense. God designed our brains to protect us from trauma. So that sounds like what you were going through. Like if you were processing both at the same time.
Yeah.
So your brain
Yeah.
was like, all right, you're going to actually be like a spectator to it. It switched.
Exactly.
Right?
That's exactly what
Yeah.
it was. That's exactly what it was. Because I was wondering to myself, I'm like, why am I not tripping? Why am I just like what I am? Because it's like I was like you said, I was like I was observing. I'm like, you know,
Okay.
yeah, that's really what it was like.
And you know, we've talked about this, and we've talked about this the first time you've shared it in a public forum. But the one thing that we said is that everybody's experience is different. That was her experience. So it doesn't mean that someone else is going to experience the same thing. It doesn't mean that you're not. But I think we're designed, and that's why we're designed and styled by God to deal with things differently. We have our own perspective based on our experiences and our relationships and what we know and what we don't know. All right, so you're watching, you're a spectator, it's surreal. You go to the cemetery, you bury your dad. Okay, what happens?
So, buried my dad. We come back to have a repast. You know, all my siblings and I, and family and relatives and people I hadn't seen in years and so forth, and you know, get through that moment. Because now I'm like, okay, I got to get back home to mom. So I came home to mom, and then my brother Brian. So he and I, my brother Brian is my other brother that has the same mom that I have. So anyway, so Brian, you know, he said, well, I'm going to go on back because he lives in Virginia. He lives in Springfield, Virginia. he said, so I'm going to go on back, because I was asking him, are you going to come by the house, to see mom before you go? He's like, no, I'm just going to go on back, because it was a lot. He had taken off a lot of time from work and everything, so he said, I'm just going to get on back home. So I said, okay. So I get home, and I come in the room, come into her bedroom, and she's laying there in the bed, and she's asking questions about the homegoing. She says, so who was there? Who did you see? And and I told her who all I saw, who came, and it was just a normal conversation. About the day, how it went. And she's like, oh, okay. So I sat in there with her for a few minutes. She dozed off into a nap. So I sat there in a chair and I started dozing off. But then eventually I got up and left and went into, I was staying in my grandmother's bedroom. So I went in there because I was just drained out, because by this time I was seeing her, and I'm just like, whew, I'm not just like, I was cried out to God. I'm like, God, what is this? Wow. I'm like, this is a lot, because now I'm concerned, because I've been there, and I'm thinking about, now I have to prepare to come back home at some point.
Yeah.
So what's going through my head is, okay, I just watched my father pass. Now I'm thinking about care for my mother, because because I'm seeing now that she's not going to be able to, I can't just leave her alone. She's going to need someone here with her.
Yeah.
Someone's going to have to replace me, but who is that? Because who is my mom going to trust? Who's going to be around her like that?
Yeah.
So this is going through my head, and it's just like, so anyway, I came back later that night to give her her last dosage of meds for the night, and I went back into my bedroom. The other thing is that my mom and Larry, they had befriended this dog in the neighborhood named Daisy. Well, they called her Daisy.
The dog.
So Daisy, every now and then Daisy would go off for a few days. Like, she was staying at my mom's house sometimes, and then she would go back to the people that she originally lived with. But then she would just come and stay with my mom for a few days. So anyway, so that night, after I finished making sure my mom was okay, I went back into my bedroom and was in the bed, and Daisy came in the room and was looking at me, and she was, how they.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, Daisy,
we're talking about,
what's wrong? And she did that a couple times. She came in the room, and I'm like, what's wrong with you? And so I said, do you want to go out? So I got up to see if she wanted to go out, but I think, did I? No, she just left the room. She just left the room. So I was like, okay, well, she's gone. So I guess she guess she just having a moment or whatever.
Wow.
So, so I finally went off to sleep, and then about 3.
Sorry. It's okay. You remember you have with somebody, so you don't have to hide it.
Yeah.
Just.
Yeah. So it was about 3 something in the morning. I woke up. I heard my mother in the other room coughing. So I immediately got up and ran in there to her. And she was having trouble breathing, and she asked me to help her up. So I got her. No, she was already up. She was already kind of like sitting up or trying to get up or whatever. So she told me, she said, get the razapam, and And then she said, and also the morphine. So I gave her those, and I gave her that, and so I'm just standing there with her, and I'm waiting for that to take effect to help her get her breathing back. And then she said to me, she could barely speak, but she said, "Get Larry," because the breathing just wasn't coming back. It wasn't even after I had given her the meds. So she said, "Go get Larry." So I think what had happened at that moment also, she laid back. Oh, I know what it was. She laid back on the bed. And I'm thinking maybe that would help the breathing get better, but it got worse. So I immediately ran up the steps and banged on Larry's door. I said, "Larry, I need you to get down here because, Mom's having trouble breathing." And so when I saw that the breathing was getting worse when she laid back down, I tried to pull her back up, and I couldn't pull her back. Yeah.
What's that? Yeah.
So I tried to lift her back up, and I couldn't get her back up. It was too heavy, and I was like, "This is strange," and I couldn't get her back up. So anyway, so I rushed up to get Larry, and I said, that's when she was telling me to get Larry. So Larry was like, I think he heard what was going on. He was like, "Okay, I'm coming." He's like, "We're going to take her to the hospital." He was still, thinking that this is just going to be okay, just get her to the hospital. So he wasn't coming down. So when I came back down, after I banged on the door, I came back down, and so I came back down. And I saw her leaving. And so in that moment, I remember that moment because I started yelling, "Mommy." And it was like I became this 5-year-old little girl. I saw my 5-year-old self yelling, "Mommy."
Yeah.
And I just said, "Mommy, mommy, mommy." And she was leaving. And so I grabbed the phone and called 911. And the dispatcher, she started talking to me, and I said, "My mom is having trouble breathing." And so she started talking to me about what to do. She said, "We're sending an emergency, the ambulance out to your address," but she said, "This is what I need you to do." So she started telling me what to do to resuscitate her. And so I started to do, resuscitate her. And then after a few minutes, I was starting to get tired. It was a lot to do. So the dispatcher asked, she said, "Was there someone else there with you?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Well, have them come in and do it in your place until the ambulance gets there." So I was yelling for Larry, and he was still upstairs thinking,
he was getting dressed and getting together.
Getting together.
Wow.
And he wasn't responding. So I just had to keep going. But in that moment, I saw and I heard, as I was trying to bring her back, I heard, if you try to bring her back now, you're just going to extend her suffering. And at that moment, I just knew I had to let her go.
Yeah. But it was hard.
Yeah.
You don't, that's not an easy decision. It's not like,
no.
You're torn.
It was very hard. It was, and you just feel helpless. It's like, and you're thinking like this is this how I have to watch my mother leave?
Yeah.
You know. So so eventually the ambulance people came, and they came rushing in, and they also had police there. I guess that's a normal part. Yeah. So the policeman took me out into the next room. He said, "Miss Glaze, we're gonna have to take you out while they work on your mom." So, you know, they just asked a few questions, and I just sat there, and I was getting frustrated, because I'm like, why is it taking so long? And they're like, well, ma'am, it usually takes about 20 to 25 minutes to do this. And that was the longest 20 to 25 minutes in my life.
I can imagine.
And so I'm just sitting there, and I'm just hearing him in there, you know, just still trying it, and nothing is happening. So eventually it just got to a place where I overheard them say she's gone. And then the policeman that was sitting with me, he just looked at me, he said, "Miss Glaze, I'm sorry to tell you, but your mom's gone." And I think about, I always question, I'm like, if we could have had a conversation, I wish he could have felt okay enough to tell me.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I just would have liked to have had that moment for us to just have that conversation.
Yeah.
If she knew that was where this was going, that we could have just had that conversation, just to have that moment, just to let her know I'm here.
Yeah.
Because I don't know.
You know, I think I saw this on TVN one time, and this woman was asking, and I'm sure you've had conversations with God, because we have a lot of conversations with God when things don't go the way that we think that He should make them go. So her little baby died, and it's a little baby, and trying to remember how it went, but she was saying, you know, why, and asking God why, and never got a response from God. So now she's mad at God, because that's what we do, we get mad at Him. And I guess He finally responds to her, and He said, "If I tell you why, there'll be another why. And when I answer that why, there'll be another why." The whys don't stop.
Right.
Because, you know, you say God said to her, the reason why your baby died is because ABC. But why? But why ABC? Well, D. But then why D? So it's there's nothing that is going to satisfy you in terms of a response or understanding or whatever, and God knows that.
Yeah.
And there's certain things. I remember when I was real little, that song, "We'll understand it better by and by." And I think even Paul and Jesus said there's certain things that you're not going to know until you see. And when you see God, you're going to see your mother anyway, so you're not.
Right.
It's not like, so you're not, you know, but it's normal. We do go through that, like you said, because I've heard people say, if I just had one more conversation, or I should have said I loved you, or I should have whatever, did things differently. But even if you did things differently, you think of something else that you didn't do. And your mind goes into a loop and a cycle. But the enemy is doing that. It's getting you confounded.
I just want to say that one of the things that you can always say, you have done your best. You were there for the last. Because if you had left and come back home and that happened, you'd be beating yourself and saying, why didn't I stay?
Right.
You were there. You got a moment to be with her for the last. And
Right.
that's the best that you could do.
Yeah.
So what my mom is saying off camera is that, and I just repeat it to the audience, is that you did the best that you could do, and you were there at the last. Because how would you have felt if you came home and then got the news? So that was the best.
Yeah.
And I know that you did the best, because I was getting the blow by blow. So you did your very best. Your mom is proud of you, and I think she knew and she was ready to go, but she wanted you to be there.
Right.
Of all the people in the world, she wanted you to be there
Right.
with her, and in a way she did tell you, but she probably didn't want to tell you. Then you'd freak out, or you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's so much to it that you just don't know. But she knew that she wanted you to be there. She wanted the person that would do their best, and you were there in every way, and she's proud of you.
Thank you.
And you
Thank
should be
you.
glad that you were there. But have you actually grieved your mom?
So mom is saying off camera, you guys, we don't have whatever mic'd up is. That's a good question. Is because and I've asked you that question because Rara is like this.
Yeah.
Like if you want to, like, when I went to the dentist and they were doing all kind of stuff to me, like, Rara, you got to come with me, because I know I was going to be freaked out, but I know your energy is like this. Your energy is like this. So it's fair to ask you, have you properly grieved your mom? And knowing that there's no right or wrong way to do it, you got to do it in your time, in your way.
Right.
So the question, and you can share with your audience, is have you grieved her? Have you grieved your mom as yet?
I think my grieving process has been gradual,
Okay.
because, like I said, everything happened so fast, and then once I left after everything was over and I came back to Georgia, it was like it was almost like I just went on into life, getting back to
You
life.
did.
Yeah.
You really did.
Yeah. So the grieving process has been in moments,
Yeah.
bit by bit,
Yeah.
and there'll be triggers, certain things that'll come up and out of nowhere, and then I'm just
Back in that moment.
I'm back in that moment.
Which is 100% normal, because there's no expiration date.
Right.
You just learn how to manage it and move it around in your life,
Right.
so it doesn't debilitate you 100%, but you're still
Right.
carrying that with you,
Exactly.
and you will till you see her again,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's fine. So no one can tell you, is it over? Do you feel better? Because you could feel better and then go back to feeling
Exactly.
Exactly. back to one.
Exactly.
I wanted to in a few minutes, and thank you for sharing that. I know that was hard, and I know, because I always say, because you know how close my mother and I are, like I don't even have the words to say what I would do or feel or whatever. It freaks me out to even think about it. But you said to me that God gave you something in that moment,
Right.
because you lost your dad the day after the homegoing. You lost your mom.
Right.
Who could give you something to deal with that except God?
Right.
He gave you his grace. He gave you the
Right.
grace for it.
Right. He did. That's the only way I can explain it, because when I look back on it now and I think about it now, I'm like, there's no way. There's no way I could have. So yeah. So it was definitely the grace of God that,
And so that grace is real.
it's
It's
definitely
real. Because Paul says his strength is made perfect. So I like when God does stuff and you can't give anybody else the credit but him.
Exactly.
You say,
Exactly.
that's God.
Yeah.
You can't say, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
God did it.
God did it.
God did it. And that's a perfect praise right there.
Right.
Because nobody else is getting a piece of it.
Right.
Or nobody's getting any credit for it. It's all God. And that's what he has available to all of us.
Yeah.
But God
When-
moment.
A but God moment.
Yeah.
When we need it. He has it for all of us. There's a moment. Everybody has that moment when I've had it. When no one can help you but God.
Yeah.
Not the
Yeah.
doctor, not the money, not the house, not the
Exactly.
car, not the outfits,
Exactly.
not the education, not the title. Only God. There's a God piece of us, and you know that's another conversation. That He's there on a purpose. That hole is there to be filled with Him. You
Exactly.
can't fill with anything else.
Exactly. And that's what my mom's pastor spoke to my brother and I at my mother's homegoing. She looked at us and she said, be prepared to have a relationship with God like never before.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it's been like.
You went to the next level. Okay, next level. And you know, the enemy will try, because when stuff like that happen, you know, the enemy means it for bad, but of course God means it for good.
Yeah.
And it's time for promotion, but he knows there's a promotion coming, so he tries to get you, like, pull you down from that place, because you're going somewhere.
Yeah.
Especially when you have that but God moment. You
Yeah.
know, God doesn't do stuff, you know, in a small way. He's like, okay, now that I brought you out, I'm gonna bring you up,
Right.
which is what you did. And you know, your mom, your style by God. What did your mom do about that? What was her words to you about that? Because that was birthed during that time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. She was so excited. She was so proud of me. And when I shared with her my vision about Style by God and doing the t-shirt line, she was like, well, she said, what can I do? She said, I've got to invest. I've got to support you in this. She said, because this is just awesome. And she talked about, yes, she said, because I see your shirts. I'm going to tell my pastor about Style by God, because I mean, she was just, she said, I even see the praise team up on the,
Wow.
doing praise and worship wearing your shirts. And I'm like, oh.
Yes.
So
Yes, Barbara.
right. She was so excited. So yeah, so she supported me in getting it trademarked and, you know, getting my LLC, and so she was
Wow.
like, yeah.
That's big time. So this is Barbara, or Miss Barbara. She sees it as a little hobby. You know, she's
Right.
trademarking it because
Right.
it's big time. And
Yeah.
you know, you've had international sales. You hopping from country to country. One country likes it, and then
Right.
they're like, "We want it in this country too."
Yeah.
So you know,
Yeah.
she had a vision. And one of the things that we had talked about is, because the Lord gave this to me when my cousins, when her mom passed, to say to her that when they move on, they make room for us.
Yes.
And do you remember what I said
love
to you
that.
about your mom and dad?
Yes. What you said, that blew me away when you said that. I was like, wow. When you said that, my mom and dad are at the very throne of God, interceding on they're right there.
They're right there.
Actually right there. At
Face
the
to
throne.
face.
Face to face
With
at
God.
the throne.
So you can't lose.
No.
You can't lose.
No.
And they're expecting you to be great. And you are great.
Thank you.
You are great.
Thank you.
Speaking of great, tell us about this beautiful ensemble you have on today, because this is by
yes,
Style by God.
yes. So this beautiful ensemble, this dress, there's definitely a story behind this dress that I'm wearing. This is the dress that I picked out in honor of my mother for her homegoing. I wanted something that represented her, that said her. And when I was looking for the dress, looking for something, I had been all over the place trying to find the right thing that said her. And by the end of the day, I was just like, I was just tired. So I was just like, okay, there's one more place I can stop. So I stopped at Nordstrom Rack on my way home. So I went in Nordstrom Rack, and you know how Nordstrom Rack can be sometimes.
Good
The
Lord.
racks are just stuffed.
You got to take a vacation to go there.
So when I walked in there, I'm like, Lord have mercy. Why am I even trying to come in Nordstrom Rack right now? So I go in, and I'm not even in there a good 2 or 3 minutes, and I come to this rack, and this dress is just like, it just caught my eye. It was just like out, like it was no effort in even just pulling it from
right
the
there.
rack.
It was right there.
It was right there.
It was prepared for you, like that fish was prepared
Right.
for Jonah.
Right.
Maybe that one.
And I looked at it and I saw how it was made, and I saw the floral print and just the design and the detail, and I'm like, this is my mother.
It's gorgeous.
This is my mother. And the colors, my purple, she loved all shades of purple.
Oh, wow.
So purple was her favorite color, and she loved flowers. She had flowers, flower beds all around the house and everything. So this is my mom. I said, this is it.
Yeah.
And it was like I said, I wasn't in the store a good 5-10 minutes, and I had found the dress. So I was like, wow. I was like, that's my mom. Let me know.
Style for a purpose.
Yep.
Style
Style by God. Style for a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah,
so I
it's
said
gorgeous.
this dress was selected from heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, I like this. Yeah, right.
And then it was the only one. It was the only one that was in my size.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So
I love it.
And then at the homegoing, the floral overlay that we had on her casket, the flowers were exactly like the flowers
Wow.
in the dress. And I was just like, God. But God, this is just God. This is just all God. Let me know that, and my mom, let me know, hey babe.
Like a little wink, like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But you said her pastor said that your relationship with God was going to change.
Yeah.
And you started seeing it right away.
Yeah.
The prophet said it, and then you
Yeah.
started seeing it
I
right
started
away.
seeing it right
and
away.
it has changed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's gorgeous. That's a gorgeous dress.
Thank you.
And you were today. I wanted to, because, and thank you for sharing your story again. And I know that people out there that they're going to see this.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when my mom lost her sister, and I never said this to you, but I remember you said the chaplain came in and said her sister was in the hospital. She's getting all the care, but the caretakers are not getting any care. Mm-hmm. And you got to make sure that the caretakers, because that person might be there getting the medicine and they're not feeling any pain, even though they're ill, or God forbid they move on. But the caretakers have to take care of themselves. And one of the things that she said that helped her is to go to Grief Share, because you said earlier, unless you've been through it, you don't know what it feels like. You don't know what to say. But if you're with somebody that experienced it and you guys are just talking, it's not like you're there to stop the hurt or whatever. It's just to have that camaraderie to say, I know what you mean, because that's what you want, because you don't have the words. I know what you mean.
Right.
I lost my mother, I lost my sister, and just the talking about it, because the enemy, he doesn't want you to talk about stuff, because words are powerful. He wants you to be silent and retreat
Yeah.
and suffer alone.
Yeah.
But
Right,
a
right.
grief share at your church or your community, or someone that's been through it,
Exactly.
is highly recommended
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
do
You do have to
actually
talk
do so.
about it. You definitely have to talk about
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
And I know that one of the things that we as Christians, Paul said, we don't grieve as those without hope. So we're not, we might be cast down, but we're not forgotten.
Right.
Or, we're human, so we do grieve, but we have hope.
Right.
I'm going to see her in glory, and she's going to be 100% okay.
Yeah. And she came to me in a dream.
She did. Wow.
She came to me in a dream.
Wow.
Because during this time, between my father passing away and my mom passing away, one of my favorite aunts, great aunts,
I remember, yeah.
Actually, my mom and I had gone to see her because she had, she had been going through an illness, and so we went to see her, and this was a few days after my father had passed. So we went to visit my Aunt Alice, and that was another moment, because getting my mother to go from the car into the house, we had to stop before we could we had to stop a couple of times just so she could catch her breath, and she had to just literally just stop and sit down and just it was just a lot. So anyway, we got inside, so there was a hospice nurse there, so we my cousin Andy walked us back into the bedroom, and when I walked in the room, I saw my Aunt Alice laying in the bed, and I already knew.
Wow.
because she looked exactly the same as my dad did.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, so I actually saw 3 people
What was
pass
it?
away during that time.
What was the dream? You said your mom
So
came
the
to you in a dream.
in the dream, I was at my mom's and my grandmother, my mom and grandmother's church, old church that they attended. It's called Adams United Methodist Church in Lothian, Maryland. So it's way in the
Shout
country.
out. Holla.
Way in the country. Shout out to Adams United Methodist Church. So, so I was walking through the lobby of the church, and there was someone walking alongside me. I never looked to see who it was, but I believe it was my brother. It felt like the presence of my brother Brian. So I think it was Brian that was walking with me. So when we walk in, the first person I see is my Aunt Alice.
Who you said you watched that she was?
Who I watched past. And she was just being Aunt Alice. She was her normal, lively self. She was her normal, lively self, and she was having a conversation with someone.
Yeah.
And you know, she was just Aunt Alice, like I knew her, the lively,
Yeah.
bubbly Aunt Alice. So she was having a conversation with someone, and I'm like, do you see this? I said, what is this? I said, what is she doing here? I said, she's dead. What is she doing here? So, so then right behind my Aunt Alice was my grandmother, Tootsie. Tootsie passed away in 2015.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Tootsie was just kind of like standing a little bit behind her, and she was just looking at me and smiling, that's how Tootsie was. Tootsie was very quiet or whatever. She didn't, require a lot. She didn't like a lot of attention or whatever. So she was just, standing there smiling. And I'm like, do you see this? I was talking to my brother. I said, do you see this? I was like, what are they doing here? They died. What are they doing here? And I'm telling you, it's like when you, when loved ones pass away and you dream about them, it's so real.
Yeah.
When I tell you, I felt like I was literally there.
Yeah.
Experiencing this, that's exactly how it felt. So and so we continued walking. We got into the sanctuary. So we're walking past the pews, and it felt like we were being there for someone's wedding, like someone was getting married.
Mm-hmm. It was me.
Yes.
Yes.
So as we're walking, along the pews to go get our seat, my mom is standing, and she's walking toward me, and she has her arms reached out.
Oh.
And she was so beautiful. She had this beautiful, she had this beautiful smile. It was almost like she was floating the way she was walking. Mm-hmm. She had this beautiful smile, and she was reaching out to me, and her hair was long and beautiful. She was so pretty.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then that was it.
So she's got her arms around you. I see my mom over there cheesing. Because you know what I noticed because I dream about people that have passed. Why do they act like it's perfectly fine that I'm here in the midst of what you're doing? Yeah, I'm here hanging out. It's fine. Right. Like, no explanation. So what's that? And you're in your dream like,
right,
you're
yeah. You're
what
like,
are you doing here?
And they're
like,
just,
what?
yeah, right.
I'm just here.
Right. They're just like, this is normal. And I'm like, wow, amazing. And during that time, I have these thoughts. I'm like, I think about my parents. I'm like, what are they doing right now? What are they seeing up there? What is it like? And I've researched on heaven and people who have had life after death experiences, and some of the stories they've shared, and they explain the peace, the indescribable peace that they had while they were there. And I remember this one lady, she was sharing a story on T.D. Jakes' show one time, and she had just delivered a baby. She had a baby girl, and she passed. And she said when she was there, it was like the peace was like, everybody's going to be okay. I mean, she just literally had a baby, but she was like, they're going to be okay.
I heard that because there's no suffering or worry or
right.
None of that is
right.
It's is with us. So we know our loved ones are okay. It's we that are left behind that are
Right.
ones that are not okay.
Right.
But they're fine.
Yeah, they're fine.
They're
They are fine. They are good. And then I also had a dream about my dad, and it was interesting because I don't know why, but he was like, had a cane. He was walking with a cane. I don't know why, because he didn't have a cane when he was here. But anyway, he threw the cane down and just started leaping and jumping and rejoicing.
Oh, wow.
And he was rejoicing like it was just an overwhelming rejoicing that he had. It was just like, whoa. I mean, he was just,
That's awesome.
I was like, and I was just watching him. He was just rejoicing.
He's
I'm
telling you that's what you need to do.
So anyway, the bottom line is I thank God for the word. I thank God that I have the understanding that I have about death when loved ones move on, and that they are okay, and they ain't trying to come back. They are not trying to come back.
Yeah.
They are good, and I don't know what that peace is like that they feel, but if it's that good, I can't blame them.
Yeah. It's a piece that passes. It's
Peace that passes all
passes
understanding.
It's that piece that Jesus had when he was sleeping on the pillow in the storm.
Exactly.
It's
That's some peace.
He's like, I'm going to sleep.
That's some peace.
And I don't care about what is going on.
Right.
I'm about to take myself a nap.
Right.
Because I'll be fine. That's how he was.
Right.
I'll be fine.
Right.
It doesn't matter what's going on around me.
Yeah.
I'm good. So why am I getting all agitated and what?
Right.
And that's how he really wants us to live
Right.
as Christians. How are you honoring your mom today?
I'm honoring my mom by continuing to live out this dream, this vision that God has given me for Style by God. Because she was my number one fan, cheering me on. And so I'm like, the hashtag I have is I'm living my purpose out loud.
Is she pleased?
Yeah.
Say it to the camera.
Yes. My mother is pleased.
Yeah, she is.
She is.
She is. So we're gonna wrap up. This is very great conversation. And I know people appreciate it. So we know Mother's Day is coming up tomorrow.
Yes.
So talk to the people that may have and it's because loss doesn't always mean death. It could be that you're not speaking to your mom, or you're separated from your mom for whatever reason. A mother figure. It doesn't have to be a mom. So any type of loss that people are experiencing during this time, can you talk to them and tell them how to deal with it, or how you dealt with it?
Yeah. What I would say is that with loss, there's to not give up on hope. There's always hope. God always has an answer. God always has an answer for anything we experience in life, including loss. God always has provision available for that. So again, like I said, that my mom's pastor told my brother and I earlier that we would draw to God like never before. That's the opportunity you have during loss, to have that opportunity to draw closer to God like never before, and to see him just show out and give you this peace and this understanding so that you can continue on, because we all have a purpose, and no matter what you go through, that purpose is God. It's a done deal. It's a done deal. So just continue to look to God, spend time with God, get to know God like never before. I'm telling you, there's nothing like it. He will replace that loss, that emptiness. He can fill it up. I'm telling you, he can fill it up. So,
Amen, Pastor. You know, Rara did go to Bible school, so she does have a Bible school degree. So, well, we want to say Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers and mother figures out there.
yes.
Thank you, Rara, for being such a what's the word? Authentic in your sharing about your experience, which is very traumatic, but by the grace of God, you lived through it, and I know that you're helping other people live through it. So happy Mother's Day to all of you out there. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your mothers. Enjoy your mother figures. Thank you for tuning into Style by God.
I would like
Style
to
for a Purpose.
Yes.
Go.
And I would like to acknowledge all the mothers as well, and especially my mother's friends who came right to my brother and I, who came to our side when we lost our mother. My mother's girlfriends, they came and they loved on us and mothered us, and they were like, they were there. They brought us food. They were there to just get us through all of that. So I wanted to acknowledge all of them. Miss Ruby, Miss Eva, Miss Butter, Miss Dot, who else? And Pat's mom has been here. Talai's mom has been awesome. Fontessa has been awesome. Who else? There are just so many others that I can say. Dr. Orr,
Yeah.
God bless her. She's been awesome. And yeah, if I mean leaving anybody out, you know it's not intentional. I love you all. I appreciate you all for being in and being mothering on me and loving me. My mother is definitely smiling from cheek to cheek from heaven about that. So thank you so much. All right, so thank you for tuning in to this very special Mother's Day dedication. People, love on your moms, hold them, hug them, whatever issues you're having, just let it all go. Just let it all go. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Just let it all go. God will show you how to do it. He will. So God bless. Enjoy your Mother's Day. I love you all. Thank you for tuning in. Bye.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom. Love you.
Love you too.
Hey, Kaden. Yeah.
We had to talk in the car. I told him he had to be quiet until it was over.
Oh.